Good morning, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started in just a couple minutes.
Oh, wow. And poet was.
I see.
No, the doctor didn't. But we took care of everything they were going to do.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to give everyone just a couple more minutes to jump on here and then we'll get started. Thanks for joining. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining I believe it's our 8th or 9th month of doing our Beginning Farmer Rancher webinar series. This month, we are going over some urban agriculture. Can I get a thumbs up or will someone unmute themselves and let me know if you can hear me and see my screen?
I can hear you, but your screen is only partially shown. Your slide is only partially shown.
Perfect. Let me see if I can fix that here. Is that better? Can everyone see that? Perfect. I saw a thumbs up. We will also send out the presentation and we'll have it on our website, on FSA's website. A couple things to note, this meeting is being recorded. So if you have any problems with that, feel free to drop out and you can watch the recording later. Put your items in the chat if you have any questions, or you're also welcome to unmute yourselves. But we're going to go ahead and get started with a couple welcome and introductions first, and then we'll go over the different programs that have to do with urban producers between the Farm Service Agency, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Rural Development, the Risk Management Agency, and then we'll also go over our future webinar dates and topics, and then we'll get to questions at the end if you have any. So starting with just a couple introductions, my name is Liz Thomas. I'm the Outreach and Communications Coordinator for the Farm Service Agency. I work with with our urban producers as well as traditional producers. I'll hand it over to Cindy to also introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cindy Einspar. I am the Outreach Coordinator and Beginning Farmer and Rancher Coordinator for the state. And my agency that I represent is the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And for our portion of the meeting today, Maria Baumgartner from the Denver metro area, from the Jefferson Lakewood office and Boulder office will be doing our presentation for NRCS, so you'll hear from her shortly.
Thanks, Cindy. Maria, do you also want to introduce yourself now, or do you want to wait until your presentation?
Oh, I can introduce myself. I'm Maria Baumgartner. I work for the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And yeah, I work in the Jefferson, Denver, Boulder, Clear Creek, Gilpin counties. And today I'm just going to give a little bit of overview on what NRCS does for beginner farmers.
Beautiful, thank you. Do our rural development folks on the phone also want to introduce themselves?
Hi, Elizabeth, I'll jump in. I'm Bill Chester with Rural Development. I work out of the state office at the Federal Center in Denver. We unfortunately do not have tons of ag-specific programs, but Keisha and myself will discuss briefly a couple of programs that we have within rural development that can assist agriculture, and we'll cover that later on. But also my cohort, Keisha Westcott, is also a loan specialist with rural development, and she actually works out of our Craig area office. And Amy Mind is online with us as well. She's our public information officer, but we'll probably not jump in and chat with you guys. But thank y'all for inviting us.
Perfect, thanks, Bill. So we'll go ahead and get into just the generals of what each agency does, and then we'll jump into the Farm Service Agency. So generally, if you are a new or beginning farmer, you're not really sure where to start with a USDA agency or all of the agencies that we have, you can kind of go to the different agencies for different things that you need. So within the Farm Service Agency, we primarily have farm programs and farm loans. I'll get into those different types. We also are the main agency that supplies farm numbers. So if you go to Risk Management Agency or the Natural Resource Conservation Service, or even sometimes Extension, they'll ask you for a farm number. You have to come to us to register your farm and then get your farm number. Then we have the Natural Resource Conservation Service. They really go over resource planning and conservation programs. Rural Development has a couple different grants and opportunities for different businesses and operations. And then the Risk Management Agency is primarily crop insurance. Then at the bottom here, I also put some other agencies and state and local partners that you could also use as a resource when it comes to doing stuff with your operation. So on to the Farm Service Agency. So we are a customer-driven agency. We support all types of ag communities, and we provide what I call 4 main programs and services. We primarily have farm programs, loans, commodity operations, and then management and state operations as well. Within Colorado, we service all 64 counties within Colorado, but we do have 37 farm program service centers and 9 farm loan service centers across the state. You can find your closest county office if you're not sure where it is using this nifty little tool. You can also just Google USDA Service Center Locator and it'll also populate. All of our FSA offices are also in the same office as the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So sometimes you can use a double stop for one visit. Within FSA, like I said, we mainly have 2 main sides. We have the farm programs and the farm loans. So within farm programs, we break it up into different categories of disaster assistance, conservation programs, safety net programs, and risk management. And then on our farm loan sides, we have a variety of different types of loans. We have ownership and operating loans, microloans, and then also loan guarantees. So under farm programs, I've included our first couple slides for programs that would be most relevant to urban or small scale producers. NAP, or our non-insured crop disaster assistance program, and then OCCSP, it's the organic certification cost share program, are probably our 2 most common for small scale or urban producers. For NAP, it provides financial assistance for producers for eligible crops when there's not available risk protection through traditional insurance, such as the Risk Management Agency or RMA. It can help assist with low yields, loss of inventory, prevent plant, all for eligible disasters. It does operate like catastrophic crop insurance, so some would consider it a safety net program. Please note that you do have to apply ahead of the production season. This is one of our only programs that you need to sign up beforehand before you can receive any benefits from it. It generally covers specialty crops. We have a ton of fruit and vegetable producers. It also covers grass, alfalfa, triticale, rye, and a bunch of other places where commercial insurance is not available. It does depend on your county as well. So it is county specific. So make sure to check that out. You can also look at your local county office and they'll let you know. There is a variety of coverage for the producers. Cover crops loss in excess of 50% at the 55% of the average market price of the crop. You can also buy a buy-up coverage up to 65%, and it all goes in 5% increments at 100% of the average market price. If you are considered a socially disadvantaged or historically underserved producer, that would be ethnic, racial minority. There's a whole list that we have of them. You could receive the free coverage for base coverage and discounts for buy-up. There are obviously service fees with this because it is similar to insurance. So the service fee is the lesser of $325 per crop or $825 per producer per county. So if you have 5 crops in Adams County and 5 crops in Arapahoe County, the cap is per county. A couple of things to note: that the crops must be grown for commercial purposes, so it can't be your local garden that you have NAP coverage for. And there are different deadlines depending on the crop. So if you have specific questions on what crop and what deadline you have to meet, make sure to contact your local FSA office. Then the second one that I had originally talked about, our organic certification cost share program. This provides financial assistance to help with just the cost of the organic certification. You can receive up to 75% of the certification cost, up to a max of $750 per certification scope. It's a reimbursement of the incurred costs. So you show your certificate that it's active for that year. You also show your payment, and then you can get reimbursed up to $750 for that. It's generally for expenses paid October through September of the previous year. The deadline to apply is generally October 31st. You could do a different types of reimbursable expenses, application fees, inspection costs, travel for inspectors, and more. And then in here, I've also just included other common programs that the Farm Service Agency provides for general Colorado producers. So this may not necessarily pertain to urban producers, but these are our most common ones. Excuse me. So we do have some disaster programs. We have the Tree Assistance Program, or TAP. This provides financial assistance to eligible orchardists or nursery tree growers to replace or rehabilitate trees that were destroyed due to a natural disaster. We also have two main livestock ones. We have the Livestock Indemnity Program, or LIP, which pays for death loss due to natural disaster, tornado, blizzard, etc. And then we have the Livestock Forage Disaster Program, which pays for grazing losses in severe drought or sometimes fire. We also have conservation programs. Colorado is one of the highest yielding conservation or conservation reserve program participants in the nation. We have 4 different types of CRP where you can take out environmentally sensitive land, put it into CRP, and get an annual payment for it. Then we also have some commodity and safety net programs. We have our Ag Risk and Price Loss Coverage Program, or ARC PLC. This is an income support program, or at least ARC is an income support program, and it provides payments when the actual crop revenue declines below a specified guarantee level. And then PLC is also income support, but it's when the effective price for a covered commodity falls below its effective reference price. Most of our traditional producers, if not all of them, apply in ARC PLC every year. So it may be something worth looking into. Now we're going to move on to what I put as an in-between of farm programs and farm loans. We have something called the Farm Storage Facility Loans, or FSFLs. These are actually administered by the farm program side, but they kind of operate like a loan. So our farm storage facility loans provide low interest financing for producers to store, handle, or transport eligible commodities. You can borrow up to $500,000 per loan with a maximum down payment of 15%. The loan terms may vary, and there are multiple eligible commodities. There's a whole list of them. You can also do a microloan option of this, which is a $50,000 max, and it is a lower down payment. Within farm storage facility loans, fruits and vegetables are included. You could have something like a cold storage facility, refrigerator trucks. We've also had some other people produce commodities such as eggs or honey that have also been included in this. If it is some sort of cold storage facility, you basically have a loan, you pay it off. Once the loan is paid off, it is yours to do what you want with. On this slide, I've also included our marketing assistant loans and loan deficiency payments. These are also administered by farm program staff, but they might not be used by many urban or small scale producers. But MALs, they provide interim financing at harvest time to help ag producers meet cash flow needs without having to sell their commodities when market prices are typically low at harvest time. There's also our LDP, or a loan deficiency payment option. If you have any questions on those, feel free to let your local office know. And then on to our farm loans. So we have operating loans, ownership loans, and loan guarantees. So most of our operating loans and ownership loans are what we call direct loans. Direct loans mean that the loan is between the producer and the Farm Service Agency. FSA makes the loan directly to the qualified producer for a qualified activity. And the direct loans are mainly for those that can't access credit from a commercial lender. These are really common in beginning or struggling farmers. That's what most of our loans are geared towards. So people can use the loans, our operating loans or ownership loans. They can use them to expand or purchase a farm. They can use them to purchase items such as livestock, poultry, equipment, feed, and they have different terms and things of that sort. So for operating direct loans, our loan limit is $400,000 with a maximum 7-year term. We did just come out with some new guidance on our loans and some new policy. So I believe that 7-year term is now 10, but you would have to ask your local farm loan manager. Same with ownership loans. The loan limit is 600,000 with a maximum 40-year term. And then we have guaranteed loans. So for producers that are struggling or they've gotten a loan from a traditional bank, but they can't really meet the qualifications of the bank, the loan is between the producer and another lending institution. FSA just provides what we call a guarantee to the lending institution that they will get their money back. And this one is essentially for a way to extend credit to family operators. You can do an ownership or operating loan under guarantees. The lenders can receive protection from the loss up to 95%, and then they can be granted for up to $2.236 million. And then we have a couple other types of loans. The last two are more specific to beginning and underserved producers or urban producers. The first one is youth loans. FSA can make low interest loans to youth to establish or operate ag-related income producing or supervised products. They do have to be a part of some sort of ag organization such as FFA or 4-H. It's for ages 10 to 20, and they also increase the limit to $10,000. Then we have direct farm ownership down payment program. This one is very specific to beginning farmers and ranchers or underserved producers. This type of loan can be used to purchase or a farm or ranch. It's a minimum 5% cash down payment is required, but your interest rate is only 1.5%, and the loan limit is $667,000. Then we have microloans. We have a lot of urban producers or starting out producers start with a microloan. It's basically meant to meet the design of small and beginning farmers, non-traditional niche type operations, and they can be limited, or they are limited up to $50,000, but they do have a simpler and a little bit quicker application process. I've included on this slide just a farm loan online resource. This is a really cool application where people can go in. It's paperless. You can go in and click what you're doing for your operation, what you're looking for, complete balance sheets, and then it'll kind of give you an idea to identify the direct loan projects that might be a fit for your business. And then I just have a couple more slides here, more related to urban. We do have some great opportunities to get involved. So we have something called our urban county committees. Colorado this last year was announced within the Farm Service Agency and the Natural Resource Conservation Service to have what we call an urban county committee. So urban COCs are advisory boards made up of local farmers and ranchers. The members of the board are elected by their peers to serve and contribute their voices and experience. Urban COC members would serve a 3-year term. You meet maybe once a month, maybe less, just depending on the needs of the county office. You are paid for your time and mileage. It really is just a great way to get your leadership out there, your voice heard, and really help make decisions that's going to affect your local producers. So most COC members, they primarily make informed decisions within their offices. They conduct hearings and reviews as requested by the state committee or the local producers say there's something wrong with their application. They ensure that our socially disadvantaged or SDA farmers and farmers and ranchers are fairly represented. They make recommendations. They provide input on local programs. They set county average yields for commodities. This would be a really big thing in urban ag as it's coming new to the USDA, at least within the Farm Service Agency. If we need to set these yields, we really need knowledge from local producers to help do that. And then they also help us conduct outreach to provide their peers and other organizations whenever we have programs or events come up. A couple other great things. We have our urban cooperators. The USDA offers grants to organizations to be cooperators with our urban ag initiative. These are handled at the national office, but our cooperators can really help our producers in a variety of ways. They can help navigate USDA programs. They can apply for programs that sometimes the cooperators offer themselves, and then they can help provide other resources for urban producers. It really just varies. It is an application process where you could receive a grant to help the Urban Ag Initiative. These grants do open up periodically throughout the year. You can join our newsletter list or sign up as an FSA stakeholder through me to receive notices whenever these grants come available. On this last slide, I just put a couple programs and resources that we have. All of our programs and fact sheets are listed on that top link. Like I said at the beginning, we will send these out. We'll post the website on our, or we'll post the slides on our website so that you can get all of these links so you don't have to write them down. Then we have a couple different other websites within farmers.gov of how to be a beginning farmer rancher. We also have some urban websites, a lot of great links. So if you have any questions after, or if you want any of these links immediately, I can also post them in the chat. But that is all I have. I'll hand it on over to Cindy.
Well, thank you very much for your overview, and I'm just going to fill in whenever Maria needs any little help, but I'm going to turn it over to Maria and let her get started. And just make sure, Maria, you tell Liz to move to the next slide and she'll get it done.
Great, it sounds good. Well, yes, I'm Maria Baumgartner. I'm the resource conservationist for NRCS. And so today, the NRCS is just, we use that acronym a lot, but it's the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And so we do provide assistance to our farmers, ranchers, and forestry landowners or forestry producers. Our goal is, to provide technical information, the latest science and research, connect you with any of our team. We have soil scientists, we have wetland experts. We have experts in all different aspects of land management. So we have like a whole network of people to help out. If a producer wants to go to the next step, we can work with them in developing a conservation plan, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit more. And right now, urban ag is kind of a coin term that we use, but we really work with all producers, all farmers, ranchers, even if they, if they might not fit the urban ag definition, that's okay. We work with everybody to provide technical information and for some of our programs that give cost reimbursements. Next slide. The benefits of working with NRCS, we look at soil health, water quality, wildlife, climate smart ag, and forestry, urban ag. So a lot of the programs that we do we're looking at natural resources, and so that we'll go over that a little bit more, but that will go into problems with soil that you might have and that you want to develop a soil health system. It might be related to you have concerns of water runoff coming onto your property from other urban areas, or you might want to increase wildlife on your farm or ranch. And so go ahead, next slide. And then who are urban ag producers? That could be anybody really in an urban area is considered an urban ag producers. The definition is kind of vague, but backyard and community gardeners, managers of small animals, even camel dairies, a wide variety nonprofit organizers. We have people that might be just, and more in the distribution side of things. Really, it can be anybody within that area. Some people will define it a little bit bigger. Our definition is like a 5-mile buffer. So go ahead, next slide. Yes, USDA grants. So I did provide an overview of grants in the chat. So that would be what's labeled USDA Urban Agriculture Programs at a glance. So if you want to pull that up, it gives I think a really good overview of all the different grants that you might be interested in. And so, and I help a lot of farmers and ranchers kind of, if they interested in something like that and they might want a little bit more technical information before they apply, sometimes they'll reach out to me. But I think that is a good resource. So in this particular one, it's composting and food waste reduction cooperative agreements, and these funds are for municipal compost plans and food waste. They're for local and municipal governments. So you might work with local governments, that could include the conservation district. And you could say, hey, 5 or 6 of us want to do some compost plans together. And then the local government could apply for them. So sometimes I'll receive information. I'm like, oh, what would a compost facility look like on an urban ag operation? And so and so then I would give them that technical information, and then they might organize and work with like a local conservation district to apply for this one. This one is 45,000 to 300,000 with a 25% match required. Next slide. Another grant is the Urban Ag and Innovation Production Competitive Grant. This one could be nonprofit organizations. This one could be tribal government, schools that serve K through 12. And then the planning projects are 50,000 to 200,000. Implementation projects are 50,000 to 300,000, and there's no match requirement. So that is a good, that is really nice for an urban agriculture program that's just getting started off. You might not have that match or that buildup of money to provide for the match. So that's really nice to have. Next slide. And then the Conservation Innovation Grant. So this is a grant that goes through the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service. So I often will get calls being as a planner, which I'll describe later. But this one will, we can look at innovative ways that might not fit some of the other grant applications or might not fit any of our other NRCS programs. So this might be something, new and interesting, like maybe you're going to connect, do a little bit more research with like a weather station or work with soil moisture sensors for your irrigation, something just that you want to do a little bit higher level, but doesn't fit some of our other programs. So next slide. Okay, so the conservation planning is different. It's not and with NRCS, it's not actually not considered a grant. It's considered a cost reimbursement. So like if you apply for a federal grant and you also apply for NRCS, that's nice because what will happen is you'll put in these conservation practices, and you'll put in the conservation practices and then you'll be reimbursed. So it goes through, so you don't have to do Dunn's number or, we might not have a webinar on how to apply for this grant, but so what happens is like a planner, which I would be considered a planner for the area that I work in, which is Boulder, Jefferson, Denver County. You would reach out to me, I would come out onto the land, and I would start to develop a conservation plan. So that would be step one. And so we're kind of like, and this can be done any time of year. We're always taking requests and applications. There's no charge to the farmers. So this is all available to farmers, ranchers, and forestry landowners. And so then you would say, oh, okay, I have this conservation plan. I'm interested in implementing this conservation plan, but I don't have the financial money to get it done. So you could either say, oh, yeah, I do have the financial money, and then you can still work with us and we can help give you assistance on implementing that conservation plan. Or you could say, oh, I can't afford it and I'd like to apply for financial assistance. So then you would start with an application, you would fill out paperwork with Farm Service Agency, you would fill out paperwork with NRCS, and then we have a field office to help you with that and to kind of guide you in that direction. So it's a little bit different than a grant. And then we find out if you're eligible, and then we have kind of like ranking deadlines. And then usually it happens in the fall or early January, February. And then you find out typically in a typical year around May, June, if you've been approved. If you've been approved, then you can go ahead after you sign on that final signature line, you would have a contract with NRCS, and then you could go ahead and implement those conservation practices. Next slide. So NRCS does offer financial assistance, eligible landowners. So they either have a lease with that land or they own that land. And we provide financial and technical assistance. So technical assistance might be you just are interested in having an engineer plan for your property, but you decide that you don't need any financial help. Or you might say, oh, I do need some financial help and I'd like to apply for these programs. So these programs, we incentivize conservation practices, a coin term we use, but another one would be sustainable practices or practices that kind of address our natural resource concerns. And that might be improved soil, water, plant, air, animal, or related resources on ag land. And so that's where a planner would come out to the property, look at your soils, look at your water, look at your water rights, that type of thing, and kind of develop a plan with you. Next slide. The Environmental Quality Incentives Program, that's probably one of our popular programs for urban agriculture. And this provides financial and technical assistance. This is where we go out to the property and we realize, for example, that you're having problems irrigating your fields. So we might develop a conservation plan and maybe an engineer plan for that property. And then you would go ahead and apply through this Environmental Quality Incentives Program. This program is available all over the nation, and we have 21 resource teams in Colorado. So this is available to areas. If you're outside of the area I work with, you just work with a different field office. Examples of assistance for urban agriculture are mulching, grazing, cover crops, reduced tillage, high and low tunnels, irrigation beds, irrigation systems, and raised beds. So you might be like, oh, I want a little help. Over time, you might want to go you might want to go reduce tillage. And so you might develop a plan like that. You might look at cover crops. Is my crop, do I have any compaction layers that I need help with? And then you might be like, okay, let's design a cover crop mix to kind of help reduce the compaction in that soil layer. So things like that are pretty common examples of conservation plans that we develop with this environmental quality incentives program. Next slide. The conservation stewardship program is also becoming quite popular with urban agriculture producers and small acreage producers. The minimum payment is $4,000 a year. It's usually, we look at, it's a 5-year contract, so you want to make sure you have a lease or own the land for 5 years. And then this is where you want to take your conservation practices to a higher level. So you might decide, oh, I want to try something with cover crops. I want to do like a summer cover crop in my pathways and another cover crop in the fall. So you might just want to do something a little bit higher level related to conservation. Examples of those enhancements would be a conservation cover for pollinators and beneficial insects, maybe around the edges of your field, a cover crop to reduce soil erosion, multi-species cover crop to improve soil health, increase soil organic matter. So it's just a little bit more in depth. The eligibility for this is a little bit different. So you already need to be like doing a few conservation practices on the property. So you already have addressed several resource concerns, but you might want to go to a higher level with, let's say, soil health or irrigation efficiency or something like that. Next slide. NRCS services, we have conservation practice implementation. We have about 170 plus conservation practices through our NRCS programs. So that's where a planner really helps out and kind of defines like, oh, okay, after seeing the property, looking at the property, what's the best fit, what's doing well with your goals, and then we usually give some alternatives so that farmer has it's part of their plan. They know what they would like to do, and it's not heavily detailed on, a grant program or something like that. So it does have some flexibility. Each practice has a conservation practice standards, which details how producers should implement it, and we have specific requirements of how that should be installed. And then that's done by research and information to make sure that we're kind of addressing our resource concerns through these conservation practices. The conservation concern tool, there's a link there. And I think we skipped ahead, but that's okay. There we go. This would help producers learn about conservation issues that might impact their ag operation. This will also identify targeted solutions, might fit their best needs, and it provides a walkthrough of more than 40 conservation concerns related to soil, water, plants, animals, energy, and air. The next slide. And then these are more NRCS resources, some fact sheets, our website, so you can look at that, NRCS success stories, and video resources. Just gives a little bit more information on what our agency does. And then, of course, we can connect you with a planner or somebody to kind of guide you through whatever decisions you might make on your urban ag or small acreage operation. Next slide. And I think that will switch me over to rural development. But please put in the chat if you have any questions, and I'll be online to provide you to answer those if you have any other questions you might want to ask me.
Thank you for doing our presentation today, Maria. You did an outstanding job, and like always, she is available for any questions. But before we move forward to the next presentation, I just want to introduce Cece real quick, a new urban ag planner for NRCS. Cece, do you want to say hello to everybody and give a quick little introduction?
Okay, hi, my name is Cece Bloomfield. I live in Boulder, and I am going to be working with NRCS and Colorado Department of Agriculture to help launch a new service center in Broomfield. So that service center is going to be focused on specifically the non-traditional producers and just getting up to speed on all these tools that Maria talked about. And so when it says, contact your service center right now, we're not there yet. So Maria is a great contact to start with, even if you're downtown Denver and not in her area. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm excited to see what we can do. It's working with new farmers and urban producers is high priority for the agency. And it's a great opportunity right now to really address some of the barriers and make things happen. So I'm glad you're all on this call.
Right, I'll jump in now. My name again is Bill Chester. I'm a loan specialist here in Colorado with, excuse me, rural development. And just real quickly and briefly, just like our slide shows, we do have programs and services for primarily rural communities and businesses with water, energy, internet, and other infrastructure needs. We do have over 50 financial assistance programs for a variety of purposes. I specifically work within business programs, and our primary goal is to help expand and develop businesses in rural areas. But we do also have community programs, which covers things like water and different community facility projects. We handle telecommunications, energy programs, and we don't have it listed on here, but we do housing programs as well in rural areas. But what we're primarily going to discuss today is two of our programs that we offer that could be utilized in urban agriculture settings. Our value-added producer grants, which my coworker Keisha will discuss a little bit in a moment, and then the renewable energy and energy efficiency programs, which fall under our Rural Energy for America. Both of these programs are things that can be utilized by ag producers even without being in rural areas. So with the renewable energy and energy efficiency, it cannot be used for residential purposes, but if you've got a greenhouse operation producing agriculture, and I'm just using that as an example, and need to go in and put in some sort of energy efficiency lighting, or want to put up solar panels to provide the power for those greenhouses, incubators, refrigeration units, then our renewable energy programs offers grant as well as loan funding that can provide assistance. Currently, grant funds are available up to 50% of the cost of those projects, so that you can offset some of the expenses there. We do not have a lot of slides to go through, so I am just going to put in the chat some links, some contact information for our programs, as well as Keisha and myself's contact information. So you can simply go online to our websites and get more info. But with the Rural Energy for America program for the past couple of years, it has been a quarterly application deadline. Right now, we're coming up on a September 30th deadline for current applications. But with that being said, we are kind of expecting another competition deadline to be coming up at the end of the year. So, yeah, that is something that, if you're trying to upgrade, insulation or windows, or like I said earlier, refrigeration, it can be used for things of that nature, as well as just straight doing renewable energy. And renewable energy is not just solar, but it could be hydro projects, wind projects, etc. Any proven renewable energy technology is an eligible expense for these grant funds or loan funds, either one. So feel free to reach out to myself. We also have a REAP email address for the rural energy that you can email directly, as well as utilize those links that I've posted if you have any questions. And with that being said, I will turn it over to Ms. Keisha Westcott to discuss our value-added producer grant.
Thank you, Bill. I'm Keisha Westcott, and I'm in the Craig office, which is all the way up in Craig, all the way up here. I am going to talk to you about the Value Added Producer Grant Program. This program provides funds for economic planning activities or eligible working capital expenses. It's to enable viable agricultural producers to develop businesses that produce and market value-added agricultural products and to create marketing opportunities for such businesses. This is a national competition, and the application period is going to be next April. So the maximum award amount is $75,000 for a planning grant and $250,000 for a working capital grant. So you can apply for the planning grant in 2025 and then the working capital grant in 2026. So that's something that you could use like on top of each other. The matching requirement is going to be a 1-to-1 match. So for every dollar that the grant is awarded to you, then you would also have to have that amount to match. The let's see here, the methodologies that for the value-added producer grant is going to be a change in physical state, produced in a manner that enhances the value of the agricultural commodity, physical segregation, farm or ranch-based renewable energy, or locally produced agricultural food products. The value-added product is a result from the use of a recognizably coherent set of agricultural production practices and the growing of a raw agricultural commodity, such as a differentiated market identity is created for the resulting products. So you want to think apples to applesauce, strawberries to jam, those kind of products. But that application period is going to be in April. So if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or Bill a call, or me and Bill a call, and we'll be glad to go over your project and see if maybe you qualify for it. Thank you.
Keisha, thank you. And I will, anyone interested in this, I will let you know that Keisha and I typically do an hour to an hour and a half presentation just on the value-added producer grant, as well as one-on-one discussions and consultations. So please do reach directly out to us, if you are interested in these programs, and we'll be happy to have those conversations.
Thank you both for that. That was great. I did put a couple slides in here for the risk management agency. Our contacts weren't able to join us today, but I told them that I would go over just a couple quick things for them. If you have any questions about RMA, make sure to put them in the chat and we will forward them on. So the Risk Management Agency, they primarily provide crop insurance via the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation to all American producers. So it's generally covered losses and risks for adverse weather, traditionally frost, heat, drought, hail, excess water, wind. They can also cover some things of fire, insects, wildlife, earthquake, volcanic eruption, and failure of irrigation and water supply. A couple of things that they don't cover is negligence or wrongdoing, poor management, failure or breakdown of irrigation equipment or facilities, and chemical drift. They do have several different insurance plans available. Their most popular are yield protection and revenue protection. So on to that, our next couple webinar dates, we have one coming up in October 16th. This is going to be what the Colorado State University has to offer to producers with CSU Extension and CSU. And then November 18th, we have the Colorado Department of Ag and their new farmer and rancher resources. That is all we have for you. This is our last slide of contacts, primarily for our outreach coordinators, for myself within the Farm Service Agency, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and Rural Development. Thank you all for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. We'll all stay on for a couple minutes and answer those as you have them. Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.